I'm going to request that we actually, when we've got questions, we can just type them, in the chat box, or alternatively, because the volumes are going to be very high, we can actually use the very same email that we got as an invite to actually respond to put through our questions, and they'll be filtered through, and the responses will respond accordingly. So without further ado, I'm going to take this opportunity and allow Ms. Maya Valcheva from UNISA, the United Nations, to give us the welcoming remarks as well from her side. Over to you, Maya. Okay. Colleagues, I realize that because of time differences, maybe to a certain extent, then connectivity, it's again Godfrey Palazzo from UNISA Enterprise, Executive Head of Sales. I realize that our colleague Maya, she's joining us from Switzerland. So probably she might be having connectivity issues, because sometimes we tend to battle with connectivity. So in the interest of progress, I'm going to hand over to Dr. Janita Badul from DFFE to do the opening and obviously, the contributions from her side. Over to you, Dr. Janita.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for that brief introduction, Godfrey, that's appreciated. Firstly, let me thank the participants for making this training session happen. Thank you so much for your RSVPs, as well as taking into consideration the knowledge that you are planning to receive from the training, which we will be providing through UNISA. We've started this program with UNISA last year already in planning for the different modules that will be provided at a later stage as well through UNISA. But first and foremost, I need to also acknowledge our partners on the program, and this includes the European Union, as well as UNEP as one of our implementing agencies, and UNITA, who's come on board to make this possible as well. And then finally, as a partner to the program, the Switch Africa Green program, we are in phase 2 of this program and nearing the end of the program as well. And the key deliverables, or one of the key deliverables from the program, has been on the development of climate smart agriculture guidelines, and accompanying it is the training which UNISA has undertaken to deliver on. Over and above that, noting the impact the climate change has had on the environment, climate smart agriculture is definitely going to provide us with the key direction and know-how in being resource efficient in the agricultural sector. So this is also quite, apologies, my camera seems to have been a bit off. So this definitely provides us with key stepping stones in the right direction to ensure that people are equipped with basic knowledge around climate smart agriculture, and also sets us on this path of being successful in the medium to long term. Without further delays, and I'm also in the interest of time, I'm going to hand back to Godfrey to continue with the program, and I wish you well in the 3-day training session. And we hope that you find it as useful and successful as we have envisaged it to be. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Janita Badu. Once more, because of the volumes, colleagues, I will just try again and give this opportunity to Ms. Maya Valcheva. Maya, if you are on the line, please, over to you. Mapoli, is Mapoli on the line? I noticed that Maya hasn't joined us as yet, colleagues. So we're going to proceed. I think we'll accommodate her as time unfolds, but let's get into the business of the day. So I will be handing over to Professor Mapoli from UNISA, University of South Africa, College of Agriculture, to actually give us a brief overview of climate smart agriculture, where the whole program started, you know, the initiative itself and the type of effort that's gone in there. And, you know, the value that, participants are going to derive from this program today, tomorrow, because it's broken out into 2 hours for the next 3 days, because we're cognizant of the fact that, valued partners, colleagues has got other business engagements that they must go into. So it's only 2 hours, which is 6 hours for these 3 days. Over to you, Prof. Mapoli. Thank you very much.
No, thank you, Godfrey, and good morning to everyone. And I think it's a very good day today that we are on the launch of this, just to be able to understand exactly what has been happening since last year. I would ask Dr. Malobane to just share my slides on his sides.
Okay, Prof, but the host has disabled the participant from sharing slides, so I can't share.
Oh, Godfrey, can you allow us to share the slides?
Hello, Prof. Tell me who's supposed to share the slides so that I can make them the co-host.
Just add Dr. Malobane so that you don't have to change every time the host.
Malobane, okay, I found it. Done, Prof.
I'm not sure. Are they appearing on your side, Prof?
Yes, they're appearing. I would be happy if you can put it on the slide mode. Thank you so much. Okay. So morning again, colleagues, and I'm so glad that today we are having this discussion, or we are having this workshop, in order for us as an academic and also as an industry, as a government department, and also acknowledging all the international stakeholders, for us to be able to talk about the issue of climate smart agriculture. This is a short learning program that I believe that Godfrey has given just an indication of where did we started. So this short learning program, it's in collaboration with the Department of Environment, Forestry and Fisheries, and also with the United Nations, and also with UNISA. That includes the College of Agriculture and Environmental Sciences and the UNISA enterprise. So I'm gonna just give you just a brief overview of what this short learning program is gonna be all about, and what you should expect, and who are supposed to attend this short learning program. Malobane, if you can move to another slide for me. So maybe the question is to everyone, why are we looking at the issue of climate smart agriculture? It is an approach that it will actually help us, or it will guide us to be able to transform the agri-food business, and also towards the green and the climate resilient practices. This, by doing so, we're hoping that we will be able to address the SDG goals, and also doing so looking at the three main objectives, which is the increasing in agriculture productivity, and also just hang on, I think I just need to move something on my side. Okay, that's fine. And also to be able to adapt and building the resilience to climate change, and also to reduce, and if possible, we would like also to remove the greenhouse gas emission, as is one of the biggest problems. In this short learning program, we also looking at the issues of, it aligns with the effort of strategic frameworks based on the four pillars or four objectives, which is better production, better nutrition, better environment, and better life for all. So this is what we're thinking, that by bringing the climate smart agriculture practice, it would actually be able to assist us in able to discuss the issue of local socioeconomics, environmental and climate factors. And this SRP will actually be able to be, how we design it, we want it to be able to cover the crop production and also the livestock production, and also bringing in the new technology such as like remote sensing. This SRP is actually have 3 modules. In this module, you will do the introduction in climate smart agriculture for crop production, introduction for climate smart agriculture in life sciences, and also in remote sensing. So we're hoping that with these 3 modules, you will be able to actually have acquired at a level of NQF level 5. In terms of your education, and it has actually about 12 credits each, which the whole course will give you about 36 credits. And then in terms of the national hours, we're thinking that for you to be able to complete this SRP, you would have to actually give each module at least 120 hours to be able to satisfy and understand the content, and be able also to know the practical part of it. And which is for the whole course, it translates to 360. Who's supposed to attend this course or this short learning program? Think about it as professional from national or professional or local investment, either Department of Agriculture, economics, labor, environment, and extension workers, farmers, professional association, non-governmental organizations such as NGOs, academic, like any academic that would want to actually improve their knowledge in terms of climate smart agriculture. And also all the research institutions include all the business representatives. So we believe that also the audience that have joined us today will find this short learning program very interesting, and it will be more engaging in all these 3 modules that we're going to be offering. It will give you a good theoretical part and also a good practical part in order for you to be able to understand better. So we're looking forward from the College of Agriculture and College of Agriculture and Environmental Sciences for us to be able to offer you this SRP. And I would just like to thank the Department of Environmental Science, the Department of Environment, Forestry and Fisheries, and also the UNISA enterprise, the United Nations, in terms of institution of training and research, for actually making this possible through their funds that they have given us last year. And we're looking forward to get started into this course. Thank you so much, colleagues. Godfrey, I'll give it back to you.
Okay, Prof, thank you very much again for that brief introduction in as far as you know, what climate smart agriculture is all about, you know, the intended objectives. We know that obviously this is part of addressing the socio-economic issues, but again, you know, food security and sustainability. So I think we've got a partner, a colleague from UNEP who would do the opening remarks from her side. So we will give her the opportunity to do so. Like I've already indicated, I'm not able to see, you know, everybody because we've got lots of people online. So Rhoda, are you available? If so, let us give you the opportunity to actually do the opening remarks from your side as our valued partner. Thank you very much. Over to you, Rhoda.
Yes, thank you very much, Godfrey, and everyone else in this training for this opportunity. As you said, I'm Rhoda Wachira, and I'm a program management officer at UNEP, based in Nairobi, Kenya. So first, as has been said, I'd like to welcome you to this training on. It's been a long time coming, and we're very glad it's finally happened. The training has been developed by UNITA through UNISA. And in collaboration with the Department of Forestry, Fisheries and Environment, as well as UNEP. I would like to thank the department for ensuring the right people have actually participated in this training. As it was mentioned, the training has been supported through the Switch Africa Green Program, which is a regional program implemented through UNEP and of course with the various departments in the countries. The program does look at 4 sectors, and of course agriculture is one of the main sectors that is being supported. The program is a regional program, and South Africa is one of the countries, and of course we'll try to equip and strengthen institutions, capacity building, technology, knowledge, and so on, using tools like policies, regulatory frameworks, incentives, and so on. And as you can see, the Climate Smart Agriculture Guidelines is one of the documents that was developed for South Africa. This forms the basis for this training, and hence the pleasure to actually see that this training is happening, and the enthusiasm with the various people that are actually here. As has been mentioned, the climate smart agriculture is an approach that helps guide actions needed to transform and reorient agricultural systems to effectively support development and ensure food security in a changing climate. As you can see, this does look at the climate change issue, the food security issue, and so on. And this is some of the things that need a lot of attention, not only in South Africa, but also in Africa as a whole. This climate smart agriculture looks at sustainability, productivity, adapting and building resilience because of all this climate change that is actually happening. From the Climate Smart Agriculture Guidelines, some of the issues that came up was access to climate information. Those are some of the things that were identified that would help make a climate smart agriculture actually happen in South Africa, and some of the things that we hope will happen, and some of the questions that will come from the training. So access to information, climate information, to be more specific, weather index-based insurance, investing in research, creating awareness, and in capacity building. And this training, of course, is addressing the capacity building issue. It's very important to have people who understand what climate change is. I mean, climate smart agriculture is, how it affects climate change and how it's affected back and forth. And they can be able to implement this given various scenarios. Yeah, so I do believe that the training, we try to ensure as much as possible that you have the best experts out there that can be able to support this training, and participants will receive the necessary tools to further climate smart agriculture in South Africa. I hope you will take advantage of this training and learn as much as possible about climate smart agriculture. With that, I wish you success for these 2 days of fruitful deliberations, and thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rhoda, for those remarks. Very, very, very much appreciated. And it is at our interest as UNISA Enterprise, as DFFE, UNITA, as well as Brandhill, to make sure that this becomes a very, very fruitful interaction. So without further ado, I understand that we've got we also have Lydia as well, who'd like to do the opening remarks from the United Nations. If not, I just want to make sure that everybody from the United Nations is covered. So, like I said, the volumes are increasing. I see we've got about 72 people who have joined now. So we'll be taking the last member from the United Nations, and then we'll be handing over to Dr. Malobane to carry on with the business of the day. Over to you, Lydia.
Good morning. Thank you very much. I'm not from the United Nations. I'm from the European Union delegation to South Africa, from the European Union, who was the funder of the Switch Africa program that first initiated the guidelines on which this training is based. I'm very happy to be here at the opening of the Climate Smart Agriculture training. I'm very happy also with the remarks delivered by Rhoda, because she's very much focused on the training itself and what we expect from the training. And on these opening remarks, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go a step back and talk a little bit more about, the background of why the training, not only what we expect from it, but why. This morning I was reading a report by the World Bank in which they stated that even before COVID-19, they reduced the incomes and disrupted all the supply chains. Chronic and acute hunger was on the rise, and this is due to various factors, including climate change, which of course is one of the greatest challenges of our time. And there is an old age question, which goes something like, what is more important, to produce sufficient, nutritious and affordable food for everybody, or protect the planet or the future of the planet? And as I said, it's an old age question, but it's also an out of date question. At the EU, we believe that we have to choose, that we should be able to do both. Plus also, as it has been referred to, in the long term, the one is not possible without the other. So just over 2 years ago, EU President Ursula von der Leyen launched the European Green Deal, which aims to make of Europe the world's first climate neutral continent. And it aims to do so by decoupling growth and resource use, and by finding ways to grow beyond the GDP. Also looking at reducing inequality. And one of the pillars of the Green Deal is the
PRCs. Can I leave them with you? PRCs. Can I leave them with you?
Hello, can I continue? Sorry about that. So I was saying that the farm to fork strategy aims to transform how we produce, distribute and consume our food, and is very much at the heart of the European Green Deal. And also central to this farm to fork strategy is the climate smart agriculture. And indeed, climate smart agriculture is the only way we can address the twin challenge of reducing greenhouse gas emissions while at the same time ensuring food security for all, especially in this context of growing global population. But also climate smart agriculture helps us to build resilience and adapt to the effects of climate change, which are unstoppable. So working for a just and sustainable future that integrates the economic, social, and environmental dimensions of development is not new to the EU. And this is already at the core of the European Consensus on Development, which is the EU's response to the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. In the 2014-2020 period, the EU committed over 20% of its whole budget to climate change and environmental related issues. And in what it comes to the EU external dimension, in external aid, it meant more than 15 billion euros. For our new period now, the 2021-2027, the commitment is to use at least 30% of the budget, to dedicate at least 30% of the budget to climate change. And this is for the EU, for the European Union, but it adds up to the whole Team Europe effort. By Team Europe, I mean the EU, but also the EU member states and our institutions, like for instance, the European Investment Bank. And together, Team Europe are the largest funder or the largest provider of climate finance to developing countries. And we are also a top contributor to multilateral funds and mechanisms. In South Africa, we have partnered with the Department of Forestry, Fisheries and Environment and other government departments to implement, for instance, the SWITCH program, which has been mentioned before today, and other initiatives. We've also partnered with UNEP and other UN agencies to implement, for instance, INTEX, which is currently being implemented to make the textile industry more sustainable, and also PAGE, which is a UN initiative, but to which the EU is a significant funder. And we also partner with civil society through, for instance, the Green Economy Coalition or the Climate Change Champions Program. We very much welcome this additional effort. We are very happy also to build on the results of previous collaborations. And we're hoping that this training will really succeed at what it is for, which has been a vital tool to make food systems fair, healthy, and environmentally friendly. And it's indeed an honor for me to represent SWITCH and the partnership between the European Union, UN Environment, and the government of South Africa on this occasion. I wish you a very fruitful training, and I can't wait to see what the rest of the program brings. Thank you very much.
Once more, thank you very much for those fruitful, I must say, very interesting remarks from your side, Lydia. Julie, so apologies. You're from the European Union, tip of tongue phenomenon. My deepest apologies for that introduction. But once more, you've shared quite interesting nuggets of information that I think partners who are online now might have picked up 2 or 3 things where they can come in as well when they knock at your door to seize those opportunities, but obviously to contribute positively into sustainable, climate smart food production. So I am going to take this opportunity, valued partners, colleagues, associates, to hand over to Dr. Malobane, who will be taking us through Module 1 of Climate Smart Agriculture. Dr. Malobane, over to you, sir. If you need assistance in as far as flighting is concerned, I think Brandhill is on standby. Thanks. Over to you, Dr. Malobane.
Yeah, thanks, Godfrey. But before I take over, I'd like to greet everyone, all the colleagues from near and far. And I just want to give Prof. Mapoli a minute or so to give an introduction of the people who are in charge so that we can move well. Well, I mean, the whole team is introduced well. Thank you. Prof. Mapoli, you can take over.
Thank you so much, Dr. Malobane. So, colleagues, this program, or this short learning program, it made to be like now ready and this way today where we are because of the academics within the College of Agriculture and Environmental Sciences within the Department of Agriculture and Animal Health. So this whole short learning program was coordinated by Dr. Malobane, who's actually assisted in terms of bringing all the issues of academics, and also Dr. Odineo, and being assisted by Prof. Antwi and by myself. And also we have the colleagues who have really assisted us now when we're putting together the PowerPoint, Dr. Nesengani and Dr. Sibula. Those are the guys who have been involved into this SLP. Today, you would hear the first module that Dr. Malobane is going to be the one who's presenting to you. Then tomorrow, you will get the module 2 with it, which is the livestock one, which is Dr. Nesengani. And the last day, you would get one from Dr. Odineo, which is on the remote sensing. Dr. Malobane, please go ahead. Thank you.
Oh, okay, thanks, Prof. And thanks for the wonderful introductions. Okay, colleagues, I hope everybody is excited and looking forward to getting 1 or 2 things from today's presentations. As I was introduced, my name is Dr. Malobane, and I'll just be taking you through what to expect when you're taking the module in this SLP, especially the crop 1, which is very key in our life and survival. And I'm very grateful for the introduction that was done by Rhoda and Lydia and Prof. Mapoli to try and cover the basic need of why climate smart agriculture is key to the survival of the human race, taking care of the planet, and all this done in a sustainable way. So for today's presentation, we will cover just the outline, the purpose of the course. Why do you need to take this course? And what are you going to gain or benefit, which are the outcomes of the modules? The lessons that once you take the modules, they'll be covered, and we will have conclusion where we're just taking remarks and questions could follow. One thing that I just need to bring to your attention, which is very familiar, we have seen rains recently in KZN and Bloemfontein, where we had storms. Farmers are complaining about the loss they have experienced due to these heavy rains. So that's the reason why we also believe that climate smart agriculture could play a very critical role in making sure that farmers do not lose everything that they have if they experience whether it's heavy rains or in an event of drought. So the contents that I'll be taking you through will just try to cover things that we could do, things which you could expect when you take this module, and how they can benefit you as a farmer, as somebody in the industry, as an academia, and why we also believe that most of the research should take that direction. The purpose of this module is once the candidate, I'm sorry, I have administration duties sometimes, so they interfere with my screen. So Godfrey, can you help me with admitting people in the group? Thanks. So once the candidate that I'm going to enroll in this module, one of the key things that we want candidates to understand at the end of the module is to be in a position to know what's the difference between climate smart agriculture and the mainstream agriculture. The mainstream agriculture in this context, it's the common conventional tillage, the use of tractors, the use of herbicides, the use of fertilizer, the common traditional way of doing farming, which there is a lot of literature and science and evidence that such practices have a downfall or a drawback in the environment and the production of food in a sustainable way. And it is also important that we, as UNISA, believe that once you take this module, you're going to benefit things like understanding the use of different practices that you find in climate smart agriculture, how they can be applied in a different environment, because there's also an issue of site specific. So once you take the module, these are the things you're going to take you through, that if you're in Bloemfontein or in your Zimbabwe or Malawi, in a given environment, soil conditions and climatic conditions, what are the practices which are falls under climate smart agriculture you can combine to get with a practice that gives you, that benefits you for production of food while you are taking care of the environment. It is very important, we know, especially in an African continent where drought is prevalent, that we need to conserve soil and water. So we believe that these are the things you're going to learn, practices that you can implement that will help you to conserve both soil and water. With the other main key is crop production, which is translate to food security. And the key element here that we also believe that you're going to understand once you take the module is how can you do it in such a way that you are not affecting the environment? Because as Lydia said, do we produce food or do we take care of the planet? Which is a very critical statement that we need. We believe that once you you get into the in the module, you will understand and how you can participate in such. Obviously, we all know that, and even Lydia also mentioned, greenhouse gases are the one that contributes to climate change because of the layer they form in the atmosphere, that traps the heat that's supposed to be living air. So we need to get aware, because agriculture cannot be a spectator in this space of greenhouse gases, because daily agriculture itself contributes to greenhouse gases. So we're going to learn the way of minimizing them, and with the hope that one day we'll get to a point that agriculture produce minimal, that it's not really a problem for us to worry about. The other thing that will also falls within the taking of the environment is the integrated pest control, integrated fertilizer management, and crop adaptations. Because of climate change, we know there are places where certain crops are not viable. So we are going to take you through that once you enroll in the module. So you know if you still need to go with maize, or you can move to sorghum, and if you can change planting dates and how you can do it and what informs it. And obviously we also want you to appreciate the negative impact of mainstream agriculture, which conventional tillage or conventional agriculture, so that you can get to be informed why climate smart agriculture is very key and why we need it. As part of a key element that we need to bring to your attention as participant is, what is climate smart agriculture? Rhoda and Lydia covered some of the key definition or key principle that are covered in it, but we want you to, for this training, to understand it in a way that it's bringing together different practices to enhance sustainable production and income, because farmers' income and anyone who's in the business, income is very key, and doing it in a sustainable way leaves legacy, not just for yourself, but for generations after you, which is very key why climate smart agriculture needs to be implemented. Strengthen resilience, because we need to farm even during the climate regime. So all the practices brought together should give you the the resilience, and also the key element that we all need to participate one way or the other is to reduce greenhouse gases. So it goes without any question that all the production systems that are in CA, the main thing is to give food security, or to answer the question of food security. Lydia also mentioned that, you know, hunger, it's mentioned, and it's the numbers are going up. It's because some of the reason is climate change is threatening food security and livelihood of many people. Most of these people which are very threatened are in the rural area, which are literally farming in marginal lands. So we want to learn how you can bring most of the practices in those marginal lands to contribute in food security, because marginal lands are key in the future, because arable lands are very minimal and they are also shrinking over time. Food security will be reached when marginal lands are used in a sustainable way. And as part of outcomes, once you engage in the module, we believe that once a candidate or a student takes the module, they will be in a position to demonstrate or give example of the following key element that we believe once you learn them, you will appreciate the climate smart agriculture. You will understand, as mentioned before, the negative impact of mainstream agriculture on crop production. Because there is a question of producing massive food now, but not in a sustainable way. Is it very important to feed people now, but the next generation suffer because of the things that we have done today? So those are the things that we want you to get into learn. We also believe that it is very important to understand how climate change affects your soil, which is soil and water, which are both regarded as non-renewable resources. We need to get a way of preserving them one way or the other, or we will wake up without any baseline for food security. It is very important to also note that there is a lot of literature that shows that 90% or up to 90% of food comes from the land. That's why it's very key for us to take care of the land and to understand how climate change affects it. The main thing that we also believe that is very critical when dealing with climate change is to understand adaptation and mitigation strategies. Therefore, farming with climate change while you're reducing its impact. We also, which is very key, and I've stated the difference between them, that you will understand the difference between mainstream agriculture and climate smart agriculture, especially for this module, it will be based on crop production. And you will understand that the pillars of conservation agriculture and how they work and how they interact with each other, and why is very key that to note all of them when implementing it. And the main question that we all need at the end of the day is, why do we need to adopt CA in crop production? This is questions that you'll be in a position to answer once you engage in the module. Just to give you a bit definition or a highlight on what are the key 3 pillars of CA. The first one, which we have all covered, is sustainable increase of agricultural production and income, which is very key for farmers and also key in us fighting hunger. And this needs to be done in a resilient way, in which cater for adaptation. We need to adapt to the reality that we are facing. Climate change regimes are upon us. Others are experiencing drought. Others at a certain time, they're experiencing a lot of rains. But in both situations, we need to get to a point of producing food in a sustainable way. And obviously, one of the main pillars of climate smart agriculture is to reduce greenhouse gases, which I stated already, that agriculture cannot be a spectator while it contributes to the release of these gases. As part of the outcomes, we also want you to, once you get into the module, to understand the various practices that will enhance not only soil and water, but also to the use of integrated soil, fertilizer, soil fertility. We need pest management, and we need to use improved seeds. We also need mechanizations that we need to look into. And we'll use the use of data weather, which will be more covered by the presentation that will be given on Wednesday on remote sensing. We want you to, after taking the module, to understand the importance of soil and water conservation, which are very key element in production of food. It is very also important to understand practices that can enhance soil and water conservation, and how soil and water conservation are linked to crop production, because that will make you appreciate why the two are very critical in any farming setup. And the other thing that is very important is to understand the conditions where conservation agriculture practices for soil and water conservation can be successful. We know that every production system has challenges, but we will get through to a point of giving you, when looking at the pros and the cons, you realize that CA is very important compared to the mainstream. And we want to bring to the information that we believe you will understand the importance and the types of fertilizers in crop production, which are also very critical in sustainable production systems. And as a point of reference for fertilizers, it is very important that we want to bring you to the knowledge of understanding what wrong fertilizer program can do in the environment. Not only it contributes to climate change, but also, things like nitrate can lead to blue baby syndrome, where the hemoglobins cannot form because of the iron binding with nitrite ions. So which obviously affect most babies, especially breathing. And so we need you to be in a position to understand so you can appreciate way of doing things in a sustainable way. The important thing is we also want to bring to your attention is the integrated fertilizer management. How is it important and why can farmers benefit from it? Why industries can benefit from it? And what are the role of CA in integrated fertilizer management? And because this is a very detailed the module, we also want you to understand the techniques that you will implement in integrated fertilizer management, how to implement them, when to implement them, with all the goal being to increase yield and to enhance soil fertility. It is possible to enhance soil fertility. You will learn more about ways to do it, whether you're in a given cropping system and given a soil type. So we will bring you to that once you take the module. And the importance and the type of pesticides. As I've stated, pesticides also are very good for crop production, but they can also be a downfall if they're not used in a right way, if they're not used in a sustainable way. So you will learn ways to use integrated pest management as a sustainable way to control your pests, and how CA play the role in integrated pest management, the benefits of CA in integrated pest management, because one of the main key drive above production and taking of the environment is income. All the production systems, it's been farmers needs to make money, so they will, everyone, whether the advisors and people in the different organization, you will learn ways that you could literally achieve all these benefits. And the key one is greenhouse gases and the contribution, how our agriculture contributes to the release, the common gases that we find in agriculture, and how we can, using through different systems, be in a position to minimize them. It's just continuation of the things you expect. And then when you take in the module is you understand the mainstream, which is very key. We have I've stressed that enough by now. The importance of minimizing greenhouse gases, which is very key in fighting climate change. The linkage between climate change, the greenhouse gas emission and climate change. It will be very, we'll go into detail so that you can clearly understand those two linkage. And the concept of sustainable agricultural intensification, because it is very key that with the land that we have, that is very busy shrinking over time because of certain practices, we still need to produce more to feed the increasing population. So, but the sustainable part of it is what is very important. So in the module, you will learn sustainable way of intensifying your agricultural system in a sustainable way. And obviously you will get the similarity in the difference between agricultural intensification and agricultural intensification, sustainable and the one that is not sustainable, but it's a common practice that has been done now by farmers to meet high yields. The benefits are very key to understand. The combination of techniques to come up with sustainable agricultural intensification for a given crop, because crops are different, whether you're dealing with crops that falls under grass family, which is your maize, your millet, and your sorghum. The way you're going to deal with that might differ from somebody who is in vegetables. So you will learn ways to come up with combination of techniques that will work in a specific environment for a specific cropping system. Obviously, we will choose common crops so that can be reference to. And we'll also take you through conservation agriculture as one of the CA practices. We will take you through its pillars, why it falls under CA, and the trends in South Africa and in Africa as a whole, so that we see if farmers are adopting it and what makes them to adopt, what makes them not to adopt. Because at the end of the day, we want to bring people who are in forefront and people who are curious and people who have realized climate change is real to demonstrate to others who are still doubtful about the reality, about why we need to all convert to conservation agriculture. And as one of the things that the pillars and how they can be used to produce crops throughout the year, because that's just, I mean, food production needs to happen throughout the year. We don't eat only in summer or in winter, but it needs to be done in a sustainable way throughout the year. So you will get to meet the details on how to do it, how to arrange which crop is very advisable to have in the winter. If you're producing maize, if you're producing a leguminous crops, which crop can you put in the next season? And crop rotation, how does it work, and how can we benefit from that as farmers and as a country, as a country, to meet food security. So I'm just going to, because all the details that I've given through, they cover most of these things. I'll just give the lessons that you expect to be, we're going to go very deep into details once you're taking the module. Is obviously the first one is to understand the concept of climate smart agriculture. What is it? How is it work? How is it related to climate change? How can it help? And we are going to focus, because this module, we need to focus and zoom in climate smart crop production. What are the practices that you expect? The key challenges in implementing it, because it's also there, because we don't want you to leave and say it does not work. We want to bring you into awareness of, if you're in Bloemfontein in this kind of soil, compared to somebody in KZN, or compared to somebody who is Nairobi, in these different soils and climate, these are things that you need to work. These are the challenges you might meet, but these are other ways you can go around them. And we also obviously will go into details of soil and water conservation as in crop production, which is very key when you do crop production for food security. We're also going to go into details, looking at the lesson that focus on integrated fertilizer management, how to do it, when to do it. Are you supposed to use determinate or indeterminate crops if you're planting maize and you're intercropping them with leguminous crops? Which ones are ideal in a given setup? If you want to produce high biomass, which crops can you look into? Integrated pest management, which crops can you bring into under given a certain pest as a way of naturally controlling them? How do you then get plants and production system that promotes what we call farmers' friends? Things like there are beetles that are very important. They can feed on eggs or spiders, and there are all of those details of pests that can be beneficial to the farmers. So we also get a way of how do you then make sure that they're there in dominant compared to the ones that you do not want. Obviously, we will go also into details, minimizing greenhouse gas, which is very key and very important as part of climate mitigation strategies. Just here is to demonstrate a setup that is visible in everybody's farmer. In everyday farmers, it's a common, some of these things will be adopted from common practices that are done in traditional practices in the villages. We know that crop diversity is very key. You don't want to have one crop in the field. Sometimes if that happens, you can lose all your crop, especially if the environment are not suitable for that crop. But if you have diversity, it also helps in nutrient cycling. If you bring in this leguminous crop, it's climbers, which produce a lot of biomass, which are indeterminate. They grow even after producing seeds. So you get to a point of understanding, if I'm using maize, what can I intercrop with? Or if the rotational crop, where this year you plant a maize, the next year you can move it to where you planted a certain legumes, so that you can literally not only try to fight pests, at the same time that can be integrated pest management, while you're also tapping into integrated fertilizer management, where you're enhancing nutrient cycling. The other one is the use of crop residues as part of mulch, which is very important in achieving nutrient cycling, controlling weeds, the conservation of water and conservation of your soil. Because once you cover your soil with the residues, not only you're limiting the sun rays to the soil, you are also okay. Godfrey, can you help with that?
Okay, Dr. Malobane, I'm going to mute all, and then you must unmute from your side.
Thanks. Thanks, Godfrey. So I was talking about the mulch, the retention of mulch. We protect the soil from raindrops, which have energy and impact to disperse your soil particles, which can lead to erosion. So these are the practices that you will meet. We'll go into details, but how does it function? How does it affect your soil aggregates? Why is it very key that to look into aggregate? Why is it very key that you need to have a certain amount of biomass left on your ground so that you can protect your soil from erosion? How will this be in benefit to you? And over time, we will get to a point of livestock integration, because that's a common one of the challenges that we face in Africa, that there's small scale farmers who use the strover to feed their livestock, but we will also bring them to attention of how can you in a sustainable way feed your livestock while you're sustaining your soil. Because if you lose it, you will lose, one day you will lose both the livestock and your crop. So that's just the picture to demonstrate that. So other lessons which I've stressed already is to look into integrated sustainable agriculture intensification, which will go very thorough into details, why we need it, how to do it, when to apply your organic fertilizers, how to apply them, when, because sometimes we have series where farmers are applying organic fertilizers or organic amendments, and they find that their crops are not doing well. It's very, so we will take you through of when is it ideal to apply these organic fertilizers and when is it ideal to plant, so that you don't, once you apply something that brings organic matter and less nitrogen, your microorganisms are going to fight for any available available nitrogen in the soil to build up on the body protein, which is very key, but yet it will affect your crop at a given point. So those are the things you will meet. And why is it important that you could bring your inorganic fertilizers at a certain point as a way to boost your production, especially if you're using cabbages or heavy feeders or leafy vegetables? How do you combine the organic fertilizers and this inorganic fertilizers in a sustainable way that you're building on your soil while you're also contributing to your plants? And obviously, like I stated, conservation agriculture, what is it, how it works, why we believe that it's visible in many places in Africa, in South Africa, in your country, at the back of your at your garden, in your small area. There are ways that you're going to see that this is visible, and this is very important, because if you're not going to use tractor for planting, that is also that on its own, because conservation agriculture is based on no-till, which means you're not bringing tillage at all. That is not only trying to protect your soil, because you're not going to physically break it, which if you break it, you're going to enhance mineralization, which contributes to gas emissions. But you'll also be saving fuel, because they are specialized instrument, or you can just bring a planter and you start planting on soil that is not plowed, which is very key when you're talking about inputs, where you're saving money on fuel. This is just to demonstrate the two different fertilizers, synthetic and organic, how they work. Do you want to keep on feeding the soil, which at the end of the day feeds the plant, or do you just want to feed the plant? Which we're going to give you the pros and the cons of doing the both and ways to integrate them together so that you can get to a state where you're feeding your soil while you're in a sustainable way feeding the plants. This is just to demonstrate some of the visual practice that smallholder farmers can do. You know, there's these guys who are having hand views. They just open in rows. There's no need for tractor. You open rows in your plant. So by doing so, your soil, it's not physically damaged, because the use of tillage over and over again gets to create soil aggregates or cloth that are very prone to erosion. I'm so sure if some of people around, I'm just going to give an example in Bloemfontein, in the windy seasons, if you go to Bloemfontein, you find or you see that there's a lot of dust that's going up. This is because of continuous tillage, and that leads to soil erosion through winds, which literally translate to loss of fertility, because your topsoil is very precious. That's your gold. That's where you get your money. That's where you get your food. So we will go take you through practices that will enhance that, preserve that, and your productions keeps on increasing. So these are just part of the practices. One was done in Bloemfontein, where we're involved in looking into crop rotations between a leguminous, a cowpea, which is legumes, and looking also at sorghum, because this was informed about the models that were done in South Africa, that there are certain areas that where maize was going, it's not going to do well because of this shift in climate. Different areas will shift. So that will also be learned thoroughly in the module, so that what can inform you to know that where I used to do maize, now it's not doing well. Which crop can I shift to? Should I look into crops that require less agronomic inputs like water and fertilizer, so that my production can still go well? I can still maintain my soil, and I can still contribute to food security while I'm taking care of my environment. And the other picture is just demonstrating a very important concept that I believe DFFE, it's very key in it, which we're just trying to do pilot studies to see how conservation agriculture can be used in marginal soils. This was done in Eastern Cape, where we're trying to see if conservation agriculture, because one of the main strategies, one of the main key factor that DFFE, they can correct me, they need to play is the production of biofuels. And the strategy that is outlining it targets the marginal soils. And if you bring such heavy, because biofuel comes from heavy or big biomass, you require a lot of biomass, but it needs to be done sustainable, because if you don't do it in a sustainable way, you do it in the traditional way, your soils are going to, degradation is going to occur, and one day nothing will come out of it and you will lose everything. So this was to demonstrate, these are some of the farmers we're training to demonstrate that it's doable. There are many results that are available in the literature, but some of these results will interpret them and cover them when we give the modules, so that you can understand, appreciate what practice like conservation agriculture can do in practice that you want to implement. This still was just a farmers training in different areas of climate smart agriculture in Limpopo and in Eastern Cape. This picture, I took it when I was doing my PhD. It's in a village close to a small town in Eastern Cape called Kala. And it got my eye because I believe this didn't happen overnight. This happened when people saw it. They saw a very small furrow, they saw it growing, but nobody did anything. And it's very key that we have to intervene, because these are the things that climate smart agriculture can help us to avoid, to get to a point that you have such big dongas, there's nothing you can do, you need engineering to come in, but you've lost a lot of productive soils. You lost your topsoils, the soil that is exposed there, you cannot do anything with it. And livelihood is very threatened, because this will keep on increasing, and one day somebody's house fell into the donga and it's gone. So this is just to support that. It was very close to the houses. But with these two slides, the reason I included them is it's just to reflect on what science say versus what we might do and what we might not do. I just want to bring it to a language that everybody will understand. If you go to a doctor and a doctor tells you, you know what, you are diabetic, and if you do not continue your lifestyle, we are going to amputate your legs. But if you change your lifestyle, your life becomes better. This is the same principle that is happening right now. Scientists have told us, have demonstrated that there is land degradation, which is also a factor that is played by climate change and mainstream agriculture and other improper agricultural practices. And if we do not do anything, we'll get to a point where our soil is at this state. And once we are here, there's nothing we can do. So I believe you and I, through this module, we can get to a point where we avoid cases like this demonstrated in this pictures, and we can help in reducing climate change. We have seen what happens in Australia, the wildfires that are happening there. What's happening in America, there is a lot of hurricanes. That is not normal. Those are literally evidence of climate change that we need to play a part in mitigating, or in climate, in food production, we need to adapt. So I believe that through the journey of this course, you will learn more. Thanks. Yes,
thank you very much, Dr. Malobane. Much appreciated. I think you shared quite a lot of insights, but obviously then being cognizant of the fact that we would like to get the interactions from the participants. I see that we've reached a bit of maximum capacity, but we're working on that because there's lots of people still standing out in the lobby. So I think we can hand over maybe to Prof. Mapoli to give a brief overview, and then from there we can take questions. We will try our level best to make sure that we accommodate as much questions and interaction as possible. I know that technology sometimes it's a key enabler in a new way of doing things, but I know that there can be limitations to a certain extent. So procedurally, so if we can get the wrap up from Prof. Mapoli, and then from there, I think we can open the floor for questions and answers. Over to you, Prof. Mapoli.
Thank you, Godfrey, and thank you, Dr. Malobane, for giving us actually the detail of how the course or the introduction to climate smart agriculture in crop production it will look like, and what kind of the information that you as a farmer, you as a stakeholder, also as a business people, you should actually look for. And I think he gave a very full detail that I won't even try to re-summarize what he has said. What I would like us to do now is to engage on these issues. You have seen what is happening in our land in terms of what are the technologies and what are the information that it's needed for you as a farmer to be able to produce productively and and be able to have a better and sustainable farming in your area. So there is a lot in crop production that if you look at it, and you look at his presentation in terms of the climate smart agriculture, and also in terms of the changes of what's happening within the world or in Africa. If we just look at what is really happening in our farming industry in Africa, and you look at most of the crops that normally they would do well at a certain season, now you look at the different changes of this season and you see the harsh conditions affecting you as a farmer. So now when you look at the background that he gave, you would want to now start to ask yourself, where do I start as a farmer? Or if we are in the business as an extension officer, if I'm going to give guidance to the farmer, where do I really now start? I saw a lot of people that says here, somebody says, I'm very happy that I'm attending this course because this would also actually be able to open up and also give the idea for the extension officer as they come to the field. So without really wasting any time, let me say, let's open it up for questions and then discussion. Let's engage together. Here we have the stakeholders, we have the farmers. So we should be able to engage and see what are our problems. If we look at what Dr. Maluvane has been addressing to us, how do we actually come out of it? How do you see it that there is still a lack of information that you guys would like also to be added into this program? So Godfrey, if that's okay with you, let's rather open it for discussion and questions.
Prof. Mapoli, thank you very much for that brief overview. What we'll do is, I think by show of hands, if we can, start taking questions from the floor, advice, inputs, guidance, and direction, not only the questions, because I believe that we are in this together. Thank you very much. We will start taking questions. Maybe, yes, like I said, let's indicate by raising hands. We are scheduled to run from 9 until 11. So the remaining time we can use it for interactions. Same time again tomorrow and Thursday as well. Then there has been the request for the presentations. We believe that we shall share the presentations after day 3, so that then valued partners, the esteemed colleagues, everybody can get the presentations in one shot at day 3. Then from there, we will be talking to the way forward post this 3 days of training and information sharing. I might not be able to see the hands now as a host, but I think you'll assist from your side, and that is all, Molubi, if you're seeing any hands. We can also type the questions in the chat box.
And Godfrey, I think those who can speak language that others can understand, they can also speak on their language. I'm just thinking that we should not, because maybe other people would be comfortable in asking questions in their language rather than using English. Maybe we should accommodate that.
Yes, please, more than welcome. I noticed that we've got a very diversified group of participants. So yes, if we can, because we are very heterogeneous here, that's more than welcome as well. So feel free to raise questions in your own language. Surely someone will be able to interpret, should be better if it's a completely unfamiliar maybe language. Yes. I will open again the questions for the next 5 minutes. Then if not so, I think then we will adjourn. So next 5 minutes for the questions to go. If any suggestions, please do let us know. I see there's a hand, but it says Galaxy A12. Over to you.
Yes, good morning. I don't know how I missed out on putting my name on that one. My name is Nkanyiso Tombeni. I'm from Amajuba district in Danauza, Ward 3. My organization is called the New Environmental Justice Solutions. I'm just very excited to participate in the call of this nature. But what I actually want to know more is because we're doing a climate change school campaigns, and we're doing a lot of campaigns in terms of like educating, advocacy, and bringing awareness. But what I want to maybe understand is that what is the difference between the food security and the food sovereignty? If maybe we might be able maybe to explain a bit further on that.
Okay, so you would like to understand the difference between food security and food sovereignty.
Sovereignty, yes.
Okay, I'll hand over to colleagues. Prof. Mapoli, Dr. Malwani, over to you.
Okay, Dr. Malobane, please go ahead.
Okay, thanks. And wow, you know, we usually talk about food security as a key. And where I'm standing now, it's the difference is not really that much, but food security just goes beyond producing enough food. If you look, it goes to nutrition. You need to produce food that are nutritious so that we can deviate from a lot of problems that are faced in Africa. Yeah. So that's where I'll cut it, because for me, they're not that much different, but it's to the extent that ones go. Thanks.
Okay, thank you for the response. I take that, you know, for maybe more expatiation, we should be able to interact as time unfolds. So we've got, if I call you, maybe if you're a doctor or a professor, and I didn't use the title, I think for the sake of progress and uniformity, I'm going to say Mr. Hendricks Ngata, over to you. And then thereafter, immediately, I think we'll take the next question from Nonhlanhla Mahlangu. I think it's Ms. Nonhlanhla Mahlangu. And then we'll get the colleagues to respond. So in that order, thanks.
Thank you, organizers of this meeting. I'm Hendricks Ngata from Malawi. I work with Malawi-Scotland Partnership. I'm only happy to be interacted with more people on this group. You may wish to know that Malawi-Scotland Partnership has a project that promotes the youth to take part on issues of climate change and environment. And if at all there are other organizations interested to partner with us, I think the door is open on that. My question, I just want to understand more on some of the challenges of climate smart agriculture and how we can deal with them, because by knowing that, I hope it can also help to upscale the initiatives. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for the
question. Thank you, sir. Over to Ms. Nonhlanhla.
Hello, sorry. Mr. Godfrey, please, can I add something to the first question that was raised the other time?
All right, you want to respond immediately?
Yes. Before the next question, probably my forget.
All right, that's fine. Over to you.
Okay, the person was actually asking about food security and food sovereignty. There is a little bit difference in the sense that when we're dealing with food sovereignty, we are looking at the right of people to healthy food. You get what I'm trying to say, that people have a right to healthy food. And when we talk about food security, we are looking at pillars like your food availability. Do you have food? For example, if you are trying to measure food security, you're looking at the indication to say, do you have food in the past 30 days? What kind of a food do you eat? So that is one pillar of food security. There's another pillar that talks about the utilization. to say, it talks about the nutrients, which Dr. Malubani was also trying to say what nutrient the food you are eating contains. Mostly in Africa, we use more of food availability as a food security. But when you go to the developed countries, they use more of food utilization in the sense that they check the nutrient or the nutritive content in the food they eat. So now if you match the two together, we notice that most of the times, the conventional way of practicing agriculture, it's more of just to produce food, which means it denies people the right to healthy food. If you are in a conventional agriculture, you put a lot of fertilizer on the farm, nitrogen, you don't care what happened to the soil, building up the acidic content in the soil and all that. So people don't really have more healthy food. They don't have the right. But these days, people are trying to advocate more of an organic food, to say this is organic food. In the sense of feed, the organic food also, the price is high. So for people to have that food sovereignty is kind of difficult, because we have organic food, maybe from Woolworths or from other, shops, which is expensive for people to buy, and then they rather go for whatever that is available, which is one of the pillars of food security. So it's not balanced. Hence, we try to advocate farmers or people to say, try home gardening, in the sense that when you do that, you can actually have access to some of the fresh food at your backyard, that you can say in a way that at least you have access to healthy food. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. I think I will introduce you, because you didn't introduce yourself. This is Professor Odinui from College of Agriculture, who was responding. Ms. Nonhlanhla Mahlangu, over to you.
Thank you, Godfrey, for having me. I might have missed out on some of these discussions, but I just want to clarify or find out more on this food security issue. Dr. Malibane said it's not just about producing food, but it's also about nutrition. So I'm recommending, if maybe someone else out there is thinking about this, to have this practically grounded on how we can do it. People have centers of excellence to do A, B, C, and D. How about having a center or a plant somewhere out there where all these issues can be grounded, demonstrated, and put into practice, and help some of us to have access to those facilities, so that we can learn and know and understand and practice and see how challenges come out of that processes and how we deal with them. So just make it beyond the discussions, and all the high level discussions, and translate it into a practical grounded level where we actually do it and we see how it works.
Well noted. Colleagues will respond to that, but I think, Nhlanhla, as well, there's another question that said, what are the challenges that the agriculture industry is faced with in as far as climate smart agriculture is concerned? I'll hand over to the colleagues to respond. Thank you, Prof. Mapoli, Dr. Odinui, Dr. Malwane, Prof. Odinui.
Okay, thanks, Godfrey, for the questions are very wonderful and intriguing. When we start with the challenges that you can meet when you implement climate smart agriculture, one of the key challenges that is that brought a lot of debate in Africa is, how do you return crop residues when you have livestock? Because you need to feed your livestock with your residues. It's a challenge that most farmers get to be reluctant in adopting climate smart agriculture, especially when we go down to the details of conservation agriculture. But what we want to bring in the module itself is, what are the benefits of leaving some of the residues, because we are not advising farmers to leave all their residues over time. But if you leave a certain amount of residues, or you allow your livestock to go into the field to graze to a certain level and leave a certain amount of of residues in the field, that we're going to demonstrate through the modules, through the sharing of lectures, how will that over time benefit your crop yields? Because you could remove all your residues, which is literally mining nutrients out of the soil. Then over time, instead of having these yields increasing, then you're faced with decline in production. Because that's where we bring sustainability, the ability to farm, not for yourself only, the generations after you and the generations after them, as many years as we could go down in generations. But it needs to start now, that you start building your field for those generations, or for near 5 years where your production will turn, that your soil itself can sustain itself. So farmers sometimes, just because of this, should I feed my livestock? My livestock, or should I leave the residues in the field? They're very hesitant. But because we're also going to focus on what you can do, because when we bring the module itself, the details are going to reach on how do you then bring sustainable intensification as part of the practice that could help you generate a lot of biomass in a sustainable way, that you can still feed your livestock and retain others in the field. Because the emphasis is, you need to farm not only now. You don't want to farm in the next 3 years, there's nothing coming out of your field, or in the next 10 years, there's nothing coming out of your field. So those are part of the challenges that we farmers tend to talk about. And obviously, when you're transitioning in the beginning, some equipment are not available, but it's very easy in the small scale farmers, like I've shown, where small scale farmers are just using hand tools. But in the setup that is large, some farmers might say, but how we don't have equipments that are there. But it's also, farming requires an investment, which we believe that also the different organizations and government organizations needs to push the agenda of conservation agriculture, mainly because we need to do things in a sustainable way. We don't want to feed ourselves and that's it. So the other thing is, you start to have weeds. The question is, how do I then control weeds in the beginning? So most of the questions and the hesitant of challenges are just what's happening in the beginning. How do I transition? So that's why in the module, we're going to get lessons where how do you transition gradually, not just transition over times, at once. So if you do it gradually, you could see, you will have field demonstration in your own field, where you see like, okay, this I've done a small plot for conservation agriculture, and this is the way I do things in this climate regimes. Do I see any different? Do I see any benefits? So those are the things that we're going to encourage a lot, so that you can also see it as farmers, that what we're talking about, it's not something that it's out of the world. You can do it. It's visible, and we with also techniques that are going to be very visual to everybody. You see, you can run small erosion experiments or trials, which is easy to do, just to show farmers a feel that you don't have to continue doing the things the way you think it's right, because it's been done by generations and after generations. If the new norm comes, you have to change. And we believe that that is another space that is going to be taken by extension officers that are going to aid very well in the ability to absorb new norms and new tradition. So I hope that answer the colleague that asked the challenges on CA that farmers can face and which are a bit discouraging. But at the end of the day, we want to promote sustainability. Sustainability is very key. We want to participate in mitigating or reducing greenhouse gas emissions. That's why we believe that this is going to be the new norm. And sometimes farmers are not tapping into new practices because it's not visible to them. The main challenge is, how do I know that this works? So we're going to get a practical way of doing things so that we can demonstrate somehow how CA can work. And like I said, also the promoting of, just put a CA small trial in your field compared to your mainstream and see if you see any difference over time. That's it. About the ground level, that's very key. Information needs to be displayed. People need to see what's happening on the ground, and we believe Prof. Mapole could also help me on this one. That as I've stated already, that one thing is to have a small plot where nutrition is also an element of diversifying your crops. You can see when you plant maize over maize over maize, it's in terms of nutrition, you're getting what you're getting from maize. But if you have other leguminous crops, which be part of your proteins, it also brings an element of nutrition in a very good way. The other thing is the use of fertilizers. They compromise the nutrition. So that's why we want you to get to a state where we will have field demonstrations. There's also other project that the university is engaging in, and once that is, this is going to be part of long-term trials that we will put down there so that farmers around and others, we could make videos with time to show them what we have on the ground that could demonstrate both the issue of nutrition, why we believe that. So we will also bring a lot of science, because we want some of these things to be informed by what we practice in our own area, where you can just plant a certain plant, you do some analysis and see if is there difference. Don't see contaminants because from fertilizers that went through into my beetroot or into my cabbage. So those are the other things that we demonstrate. Key element: nutrition, diversify, and yes, do the integration very well. Then we're gonna get somewhere. Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Malobane. I think maybe let us do this. Because I know we're very passionate, and the colleagues as well would like to pose more questions. I think thanks for that, elaboration. Can we take more questions, and then maybe we can try and then be as precise as possible? I know that, we will be engaging again tomorrow and days to come. This is just the beginning. And then while we're still there, I would like to, appeal to everybody's conscience to say this is also a networking platform. As you can see that some of the colleagues are saying, please, we would like to cooperate, we'd like to collaborate. So Mr. Scotch Malimbili, thank you very much, Doc, for the response. Let's take the question from Mr. Scotch Malimbili. Then from there, we'll go to, I think it's Toli Konkoshe. Thanks.
Good morning. Thank you, Godfrey. Good morning to you and good morning to everyone. Thank you for an elaborative explanation from Dr. Malobane regarding the very crucial question that was coming from the previous questioner, Ms. Nonhlanhla. The question from Ms. Nonhlanhla summarizes everything. I think even most of the other questions that will come will also based on what she said. The question she asked was, the practical and the application of what we are presenting, because everything is very good on paper, is very good on talking and all of that. The question that Ms. Nonhlanhla asked, it was very brief, but it was very short, but the answer that we got from Dr. Mabalane was very detailed. So the question that I have it's two questions. First question is this cause already an active cause within UNISA, or is it still on the pipeline? Are you still looking for the for the registration for the next intake? Then the last question is, are you looking for the content contributors, or you are only looking for the intake, the students' intakes? That is my last question. That was the second question. I am Scotch Malembili. I am from the non-profit organization called Conscious Planet Africa. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Scotch. I think, Prof. Doc, if we can be precise, Scotch wants to know the state of readiness in as far as the short learning program is concerned. And then question number 2 from his side is, do we want contributors in as far as the climate smart agriculture, learning initiatives are concerned? Thanks. Over to you, Prof. Doc.
Godfrey, can I go ahead? I wanted actually, if you could unmute Prof. Antwi. He has been requesting me. I tried to also unmute him from my side. It did not work. Is he unmuted now in a way that he can talk? But in terms, I'm going to just quickly answer the last question. In terms of readiness of the SRP, it's almost ready, but it still needs to go through all the university protocols. So we're hoping that in the next 2-3 months, the SRP should be ready in terms of our intakes.
Okay. The other question, Prof, just a quick one is, would you like to get contributions from various stakeholders within the agricultural space in as far as climate smart agriculture is concerned?
Yes, definitely, because because this SRP, it includes also the practical part, and that's where we need collaborations and contribution from other organizations, and also from the farmers, and also from the department, so that we're able to reach those who are in the remote areas. And also because it's not only covering South Africa, it's covering Africa. So that we need good contribution or collaboration with others. Yes, it's much welcomed.
Thank you very much. Xoli, over to you. Xoli, Kongoshe.
Oh, yeah. Thanks a lot, Godfrey. And my name is Xolelwa Kongoshe, fondly known as Xoli. I'm from a small NPO called Isitembiso, based in the Eastern Cape. As I said on the chat, I'm really excited about this course because we are agroecology farmers, and most of the times we find that extension officers are struggling to work with us because we are coming from a different avenue from what they know. Trying to respond to what Nonhlanhla has raised. I mean, in South Africa, we are so fortunate because we've got like agroecology movement that they've been doing this for a long time. And definitely, if you are looking for sites that can assist you, there are established sites across the country that are already doing this climate smart agriculture, as you name it. And also someone else asked the question about like food sovereignty and food security. The other part that is involved in food sovereignty is like owning your seeds. Because if you don't own your seed, then you can never, ever have like sovereignty over your food. And then obviously food security is what you have at your disposal right now. You don't know where it's coming from, what's in it. Whereas if you grow your own food, you know what's in there, like the inputs that Professor was talking about in his presentations. And also in terms of like challenges, yes, there are challenges, but they can be manageable on a small scale. But we have seen like other practitioners that are doing this on a larger scale. So it's something that we all have to take it with open hearts and wide eyes. And it's definitely helping because the farmers that we work with here, we're using very minimal inputs, but our yields are quite very great. Thank you.
Thank you for your contribution, Xoli. Daniel, over to you, sir.
Quite recent. Good morning. This is Daniel. I'm based in Pretoria. A couple of days ago, it was mentioned that there is an outbreak of typhoid in Gauteng, Western Cape, and I got very worried. My worry is explained by this question. If the water that I use to water my crops with is typhoid contaminated, will this affect the consumers and the livestock? Thank you.
Okay, Dr. Malabani, you want to make any?
Yes. Oh yes. Because typhoid, it's a bacterial infection that happens through food. There is a chance that if the water has it, and it survives, because medium water, it's a different medium that something can survive, other things cannot survive depending on the pH. There is a high chance that the bacteria can move into your food. That's why it's very recommended that whenever you're in farming, do your test your water. You know, there's a lot of organizations that do water testing. That is very key. It's also beyond typhoid. It's also things of salt, heavy metals, because also heavy metals, they can go through your food and the nutrition part of the food is compromised. So we sitting here without fear. It's a great advice that everybody who has water source, they do analysis or where they can, whether it's in anywhere, if there's an institution that is reliable where you can send your your water samples, then you do the analysis. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Malabani. We've got, it looks like it's called My PC. So over to you, sir. If you can introduce yourself and then pose your question, we'll appreciate it. Thanks.
Morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mashilo Overseer. I'm in the Popo SSP right now. My question is how can we have structures? Because we have got data.
Mr. Mashilo, if you can hear me, unmute your mic. You're not audible.
Wait again. Do you hear me?
Yes,
Hello?
Repeat the question. Yes, we can hear you. Repeat the question. Thank you, sir.
My question is, how can we have structures in our provinces, especially we in South Africa, that can deal with this, climate smart agriculture? Because we have got a similar problem all over and it affects the food production this side. How can we have structures either in the provincial level or in our local level? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mashilo, for your question. I think here we can take the response, maybe even from Dr. Jenitha. Dr. Jenitha, you want to go for that one? Dr. Jennifer from Department of Environment, Forestry and Fisheries, because it's a government business unit or entity. Over to you. Okay. Anybody from Environment, Forestry and Fisheries maybe would like to respond? If not so, I think, Dr. Mashilo, this is something that we can definitely engage and look into with various government departments. But Professor Mapoli, any suggestions, ideas?
So I think, yeah, he posed a very good question. And I think that's where the academic institutions and the government departments, they need to come closer and actually look at it into this issue together. So I think because we already build up the relationship with DEFF, and also the Department of Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development. I think those are the things that we now need to tap in and say and look at what it's in the provinces and how they can actually assist in the province. I think the other idea is also this short learning program will be able to be hosted in every provinces or everywhere in South Africa. And we intend to get the government departments to buy in. That is why also we're looking at also at the NGOs in any province that they are, to be able to have the buy-in to say, how do we actually have this message goes out there, or how do we then train and skill our farmers to be able to avoid these problems that we have in South Africa or in Africa as a whole. So there is those arrangements that we need to actually get to start to initiate the collaborations with them and working together with them. And DEFF, because it's already here, it makes it much easier in their mandate when they actually do their planning for their financial year. And this, as UNISA, I think we're going to take it up with the Department of Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development. Thank you, Godfrey.
Thank you very much for that very, very precise and direct response, Prof. Ntate Reverend Mahlaba, over to you, sir.
Good morning. My name is Olos Mahlaba. I'm staying in Kwakwa. I'm a small-scale farmer. I'm planting most of the time crops. I just heard that tilling the soil might destroy the structure of the soil. I just want to know, after heavy rains, the soil becomes so hard, and I hear the soil needs air. How should I go about even taking away weeds from the soil?
Okay. If I may answer your question, maybe before Dr. Malubani also add to it. I think you answered the question in the chat, and then I tried to respond to it. In conservative or conservation agriculture, rather, we advocate for minimum or zero tillage farming in such a way that you only tilt the surface of the soil, probably about 5 to 10 centimeter deep. Because the more you go down into the soil structure, the more you destroy the structure in such a way that before the soil can get back to build up the compartment, it takes a longer time. So in conservation agriculture, which is a subset of a climate smart agriculture, you don't need to tilt the soil too deep, even though the soil needs kind of a percolation for water and air to move around. But with the little minimum or zero tillage that you do, the root can still move around in searching for water and nutrients. And even other organisms in the soil, like your earthworm and some other organisms, they can still move around and do their activities, except if the soil is so dry, like you are farming in a dry or arid land. If not, your root can still penetrate down into the soil, searching for food and water needed for growth or for production. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Dr. Samuel. I'm going to I'm going to try to answer it in. I'm going to try to be as simple as possible. The issue of water and air in the soil when you till, it's not really true. You're preparing a seed bed. That's what it means. You're preparing a seed bed. Your seeds get soft soil. That's the main key. Then the challenge when you talk about destroying is your soils get binds together over time. When they are organic carbon, they bind together to form structures that are very stable, that when it rains, they're not easily eroded by water. So if they have become big, the scientific way will talk about soil aggregates. They are together, they bind together. They protect, another thing you're talking about, they protect soil organic carbon from mineralization by organisms, microorganisms. What that does is, once you till your soil to create this soft seed bed for your for your seeds, there's compaction because you're bringing a tractor. The compaction happens over time. You have what do you call a hard pen where your water does not go through anymore. It gets to a point that is blocked, then it just washes away everything. But in conservation agriculture or climate smart agriculture, what you do is you're building up your soil in a way that even microorganisms are there, micro and macroorganisms, which can create a lot of holes, and your structure is firm. The structure, the nice thing about this is the moment you have a structure that is good, your porosity also increases. But that's one thing I just want to bring to your light. When the porosity, which are pores within your soil, it increases, the movement of air and water is easy. And once that happens, the retention also increases because you don't want to apply water, evaporation, or some just leave. But the important thing is you're building a structure that can sustain itself by not tilling it. That's why I'm saying tilling physically destroy your soil, which creates aggregates that are prone to erosion, destroys the structure. Then you have structureless soil, which, depending on the form that happens in the top, your water will not go in. You can develop what we call crusting over time because the structure will be weak. If you start having crusts, most of your water you're applying will just leave the system. So now in conservation, you're going to have micropores and macropores that will help with this. When the binding of aggregates, when they happen, they're going to help you create those pores, which are also, some of them are going to be created by these macroorganisms that are promoted or enhanced by the conservation agriculture. So conservation agriculture, it's going to help you with water, it's going to help you with air. The only thing that you could say maybe it might be a concern is the seed bed, depending on the soils you are at. So that like you said, sometime when it rains, the soils become very hard. The reason the soil is very hard after it rains, it's because it's a structural soil, or the sodium sodium content is very high. Then it creates the soil just form these hard pans. But with conservation agriculture, it's going to help you over time to get away from those problems. Build your structure, because you have residues, you're going to have a high contact between water and soil, which will enhance infiltration. Thank you. There is a lot of evidence that is there from the science point of view, but obviously we also want to bring this to a farmer's view, where there's demonstration that you can see and have a feel that what I was worried about, thinking it's a problem, it might literally be advantage when I'm building my structure, when the structure is firm and all well and all organized. I'll not have problems of erosion, which is very key. Thank you.
Thank you very much, colleague from UNISA, College of Agriculture, Dr. Malabane, for the response. We've got questions in the chat box. So what we'll do is we'll make a compilation of those questions with responses. But because we're carrying on delving into the modules again tomorrow in depthly, so I think it is almost 11 o'clock South African time. This is the time for us to adjourn. But before we adjourn, I would like to take this opportunity, thank our partners, the European Union, UNITA, DEFF, as well UNISA, and all the participants and all the questions, members from the public sector, from the private sector, from non-profit organizations. Once more, this is not only about, training and development initiatives on climate smart agriculture, but again, this is a networking opportunity for us to see how we can take this concept further. European Union made mention of 30% allocation out of the 50 billion, I take it it's US dollars. Then there's opportunity for us as well, cross-county collaborations that's been alluded to. So let's take advantage of that to ensure that, we improve our socio-economic conditions as a country, as a continent, but obviously contributing positively and impacting positively to global economic and climate change. So once more, colleagues, we're going to adjourn. We will carry on tomorrow again, same time. I don't know anything else from yourself, Prof. Mapoli, before we adjourn.
No, Godfrey, I think go ahead and adjourn, and I really thank everyone for availing themselves. Very good attendance and very good engaging in all the aspects and that we wanted to know. What we'll do with all these questions that are here, we're gonna pack them together, and then tomorrow we're gonna also go back and try to answer some of these questions that are not yet addressed. So that's what we'll do in our space for QA for tomorrow, because we have more time for presentation tomorrow. Thank you so much.
Once more, thank you, everybody. Much appreciated. We look forward to more interactions. Have a blessed day further. Meeting's adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Godfrey. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Goodbye. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Ngiyacabanga.